times people want to know which MBTI would be the perfect match for them relationship-wise. And some people say opposites attract. Are you a person who believes in that theory? Well, today I'm going to talk to you about opposites and how they can clash. And then you can consider whether or not that would be a match for you. So let's start with intuition versus sensing. How do these two types clash in a relationship? I'll give you an example. You are with someone for a long period of time. Some of the things that maybe didn't bother you so much at first can become annoying. It might not be something that you can't deal with, but it's a little irritating. So sensors become annoyed after a certain point at how intuitives are very much into hypothesizing things, concepts. They may say things like, what if the world was square and not round? They have wonderings about things. And sometimes sensors want to say, can you give that a rest? I don't feel like figuring out what could be when I'm trying to be in the present moment and live my life. So that can kind of drive them crazy. They don't always like being 10 steps ahead, doing things that may not happen or may not occur because you want to see how things are going to play out. It also can frustrate a sensor if an intuitive is living vicariously through other people. Like, if I were in that person's shoes, this is how I would handle that situation, or this is how I would be, and just this fantasy of what it would be like and playing it out. A sensor is like, yeah, but you're not that person and you haven't lived that life, so why not just be into where you are? Sometimes sensors can get frustrated because intuitives don't answer things directly. They may ask you a yes or no question, and the intuitive person goes around that. Sometimes they think they're answering directly, and the sensor is like, you're not answering the question. You are answering something else, or you're giving a hypothetical answer, or you're jumping to some new idea. The intuitive person gets annoyed over a long period of time. This could be a trouble spot. Sensors tend to look at things with great detail. Even sometimes when a sensor is about to eat something, they may examine their food, they might pick something up, and they just kind of have this digital robotic thing sometimes where they're examining things, or even if they're looking for clothes or clothes shopping. Intuitives may not quite do that in that way. Well, you're gonna get, oh wow, look at this food. Oh my goodness, this bread is so fresh and the bacon is so crispy, and I made this recipe, but I can't really taste the tomatoes like I want it to. And something in here is a little bit too oniony and garlicky and too salty, and detail after detail. And sometimes the intuitive person is like, I really don't care how fresh the bread is. I'm just eating the whole sandwich. I don't need to break it apart into pieces. You have to figure out, can I live with that trait? They can have a great patience for details that intuitives just want to skip over, run over, forget about that. Let's see how this whole thing is going to work. Like if a sensor is trying to put something together, they may read every single line. Or you're working on a project together, they're going to want to figure out the steps first before they jump in there. An intuitive person is going to be like, let me jump in there first, and then I'll figure out which colors I like best. Those things can cause some friction in relationships, so you need to know that before you get into that next relationship. It can impact the way a person cleans up. Let's say you want to get married to someone who's an extrovert and you're an introvert. There's going to be some possible clashes there. So you might find that quiet nature really appealing, but after that person stares at you for a long period of time before they answer each question, or you feel like they're kind of looking through you and you don't know what they're thinking, that might become a source of frustration. For an introvert, if you're with an extrovert, them constantly talking and being on the go might sort of make your head spin a little bit, like, okay, you're just saying anything. Can you stop and think for a minute before you just blurt things out? because you can be an extrovert and get energy when you're around people and then need more downtime as though you were an introvert. So you can also be an introvert who needs some time to rejuvenate, but you like to turn up and you like to party and you like to have fun and be adventurous. So you might find an extrovert more appealing. But if you are a person that likes to be on the go and always doing things and always meeting with people and having get-togethers, you might need an extreme extrovert. But if you like your downtime, your alone time, you like your peace, you like to have some time in your room to think things, then an introvert might be better off with an introvert. And by the way, I might be driving you a little nuts with the order of things. A censor might have gone in order of the letters, and here I am kind of jumping all around. So sorry about that if I'm frustrating anyone. Judgers and perceivers. This could be possibly one of the biggest relationship deal breakers or frustrations. It's one of those things that you might find so appealing at first because, wow, this person is so much of what I'm not. But when you have to live with that person 24/7, that might over time start to drive you absolutely nuts. One way to test that out is like in a workplace. Who do you work best with? Because I'm a J, perceivers tend to have a calming effect on me when I start getting into that keyed up, I need things settled, I need things done. They can kind of mellow things out. Or if I freak out because the deadline is approaching and I don't work well with deadlines, they can come in, get that quick last minute energy. It doesn't frazzle them the same way. And then I've worked with all J's. We all like closure. We all like getting things done. You don't have to worry about somebody just sitting back, just chilling, just waiting for that deadline. We're getting it done as soon as we hear about it. But that type of energy doesn't give you much time to just chill and relax ever, because everybody in the group is always super keyed up. And so you have to stay on this tense level at all times. It could be an opposites attract, but sometimes judgers and perceivers can drive each other bananas. Perceivers, they are a little bit more laid back, spontaneous. It irritates them to have to be on a time schedule all the time. That's annoying, especially when it's your free time and you get to do whatever you want. Why are we paying attention to the watch? Just go with the flow. The J is like, you know what? I want to get some things done and we're not getting anything done. It's like everything is always up in the air. We can never get settled on anything. We can never complete anything. Before you get into a relationship, that's going to be something that you're going to consider. So which thing is it that you feel like you can deal with and which things do you feel like are just, those MBTI traits would drive me bananas. And then finally, let's talk about feeling versus thinking. More than likely, you're probably gonna marry somebody or you're married to someone who is the opposite for you. Why is that? Because approximately 75% of females are feelers and approximately 75% of males are thinkers. Just because that's true does not mean that that does not cause a lot of friction. A feeler is going to be more subjective about things. Well, let's make a decision based on how they feel. I don't want my kid to feel hurt. I'm gonna make my decision based on how I feel. I don't want to hurt his feelings. But then a thinker is going to be more objective about things. They're going to be able to step out of the situation. I'm not thinking about whether or not it hurts your feelings. I'm thinking about what's best for you. They're not going to take into consideration feelings all the time. A thinker is not going to be as emotional. The thinker is going to be a little bit colder when it comes to making decisions and how they feel about things, and that causes a lot of problems because a feeler might say, you don't care about me at all, like you don't express any emotions, you don't tell me how you feel. The thinker might say, you're being way too emotional about this. I want to make this decision based on not whether or not you love this house, but can we afford it? you need to think about those kinds of things. Now let's talk real quick about the temperaments. So if you marry somebody who's an SJ, it does mean that you are going to be living with someone who is heavily influenced by rules and what those rules say and how we should do things. And they're gonna want to do things their way. And if you are not centered that way, they're usually very work-oriented and very focused and driven in that way. They're not gonna be too playful when it comes to, hey, we gotta get this stuff done. Now, if you want me to get an attitude, it sort of is what it is with them. They're not gonna hypothesize everything. This is how things should be done logically. If you're with the NT temperament, that temperament tends to be tough. They can be pretty harsh, hardcore. SJs can be also. So you have to know if you can handle that. You know, there's usually some component in that personality that is driven for some type of perfection in one way or another. They're gonna be more imaginative, wanting to try some new things, into the new, exploring what's new, not just what is, like the SJ might do. So you have to know, hey, can I handle that temperament? What about NFs? NFs are probably gonna be your most sensitive type as far as being sensitive to your emotions. They're gonna be caring and loving and wonderful. Don't get jealous, NTs and SJs. I'm just kidding. Because there's something great about all the types. But NFs are going to be tuned into your feelings a lot. They are going to have some component that wants to make the world better, that's sort of idealistic, that wants to understand you better. There's going to be a curiosity about you and your psyche and what makes you tick and click and all of that stuff. So if you like that, then you will like an NF. And then finally, what about the SPs? SPs are adventurous. They're action-oriented. They are going to want to experience life because they use their senses. They like to try out new things. They like to tinker. So if you love traveling and you like adventure and you like, hey, let's get up and go. Let's be spontaneous. Let's not plan everything. Let's just go. Now that sensor can ground them. Sometimes sensors can be more grounded than intuitives. They got that P there. It represents openness, flexibleness. They're gonna usually have a more easygoing, laid back type of spirit. So if you enjoy that type of person, then you might go for an SP. So I personally think that the closer you are to someone else's Myers-Briggs personality type, for me, that works better. I think it's important to have a couple of letters that are alike because in the long run, you're gonna have to see eye to eye on some things. If you're marrying somebody, you are becoming one with that person, meaning that you are operating as a unit now. And if you are the opposite on everything and you are just clashing and your temperaments are totally different from each other's, that is gonna cause some friction. I mean, you just have to be realistic about that. Now, on the other hand, if somebody is exactly like you, they might bore you to tears. I don't know, because maybe you figured out everything that they know. But I think there's enough conflict and stress in the world. Even though they say opposites attract, I think the more alike you are, to me, the better. So at least have a couple of letters in common or something like that. All right, so thank you so much for watching my video. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.